Alright, this year's been a doozy. We already have the new Gulf of America, we have the IRS being shut down, we have USA being shut down. Oh, and I guess we have new Pokemon coming out? Let's talk about that. It's Pokemon Day. And despite everything else going on in the world, again, I am here talking about Pokemon. And again, oddly enough, I'm also talking about Pokemon versus Power. Don't know why I keep wanting to come back to this, but I guess it has a really soft spot in my heart. So I guess we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it some more. Anyway, so the new trailer came out for Pokemon Legends Z and A. And I'm hesitant to say excited, but I'm glad to see that at least some progress is being made. I'm also extremely disheartened that so much has been lost because of Power World. You had a lot of people's respect. Pokemon Company, Nintendo. You had a lot of people's respect. We valued you. You had our childhood. You had our nostalgia factor. And then you changed it up, and a lot of people were quite upset about it. Oddly enough, I am talking about Mega Evolutions. This was a horrible thing for competitive play. I remember saying people hated it because it changed the competitive nature of battles forever. But it was also fine. And it was probably the most fun that I've ever had playing a Pokemon game. And then you moved on. It's like Mega Evolution just kind of forgotten. It's kind of annoying. And I am looking forward to it coming back, but at the same time, I know I'm going to be disappointed. And I'm going to be disappointed because it's going to be another 25, 30, 40. Let's say that they bring out all the Mega Evolutions that they released between X and Y and ORAS. All of them come back out, and we get another 10. That's only like 50 Mega Evolutions. There's over 1,000 Pokemon now, and you can only muster 50 Mega Evolutions? If it turns out that Z&A and the next mainstay game do not start massively expanding the Mega Evolutions, I'm going to start questioning how reliable Pokemon as a company is when it comes to game development. That's not really... And I'm not joking. Like, when you take Power World for the example, and its giant, rich map, buggy as it may be, and all the capabilities that you have within that map, building-wise, battle-wise, and then you look at Z&A, where we're going to be, it looks like we're going to be confined to Lumino City. Confined. We might not be able to go out of the city. There's a lot of stuff out there. Why can't we go out there? Now, this is like my own observations and my own conjectures, sure. But when it turns out that we only have like 13 spaces to go and catch Pokemon, and they're all confined within the city, and the majority of your time messing with Pokemon are going to be in these wild zones, out of the wild zones, hunting for things. I don't know about that. It almost sounds like a step backwards to me, in honest opinion. And with as much legal firepower that was set against Palworld, you would think that a company would then take the next step and come out with an awesome, inspiring, generational game. I don't think that we have. So I did notice that Pokemon is finally moving away from their battle simulator. I did notice that we are getting new real-time battles where we can move our Pokemon around and make sure that our Pokemon can dodge and our player can dodge. Now this is the player being able to dodge is not a new concept, but it's strangely familiar. And also the ability to real time pull out your Pokemon out of a battle and put it in a new one in a better desirable spot. I think that they're trying to palletize Pokemon. Obviously, just without the guns, and without the building, and without the boss raids, and without the open environmental game world. So, I also noticed that they're going back to being able to throw a Pokeball from the wild and attempt to catch a Pokemon, which is something that you haven't been able to do, I think, since Legends Arceus. So it's been a minute since we've been able to just throw a Pokeball at a Pokemon and just capture it out in the open. I think that this is also I don't know if I want to say cry for help, but I feel like this is them just trying to re-up on their copyrighted game mechanics, I suppose. Which brings me to one of the saddest bits of news that I think I've heard. Pokemon set in 22 US patents to try and patent mounting. Getting on a creature so that you can ride them. They didn't do this first. They shouldn't be allowed to patent anything when it comes to mounting. Back in Pokemon Red and Blue, the only Pokemon that you can mount and kind of like move around was if you had Surf. You had fly points, you used fly, went from one place to another. It wasn't until relatively recently, actually, that you were able to get on the back of a Pokemon and just start riding them. I think the first time that you've actually been able to do that was in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, where you were allowed one Pokemon, Mega Latias, or Latios, but you were allotted one Pokemon that you could fly around on. And then when it came to Legends Arceus, you had a Machamp, I think, that you could walk around on. You had I think it was a Sweasel, a Weirdeer, a few other ones. You had one that could swim, you had one that could jump, but they weren't yours. You haven't been able to ride your own Pokemon, I think, since Black and White. You haven't been able to surf on your own Pokemon since Black and White. I think that's a little crazy. And yet they're trying to say that they own the patent for mounting. When will I be able to mount and ride any Pokemon that I own? When? I can do it in Pal World. Almost every pal that you can ride can be ridden. So what's the big deal? Why can't I do it? As I said in the previous video on this channel, I want to ride around on a Kabutops. No reason. Just, I like him. He reminds me of like a samurai with two swords. I just want a Kabutops. I want a Mega Kabutops. I want more Kabutops. But they don't care enough to do it. And that's the big issue. Pokemon Company and Nintendo don't care. It's about money, politics, way more than anything else. And I'll give you another example. I bet you one of the reasons why Pokemon is not able to pack every single Pokemon into every single game from now on is because the Switch. I bet you that the graphics are terrible because the Switch. Let's say the Switch 2 comes out. Switch 2 comes out, Z and A are the mainstay title. Z and A is what's going to sell the Switch 2. Not the other way around. Nintendo's always been like this, where games sell their consoles. For the most part, you don't go buy a Switch because of the graphics. You don't go buy a Switch because of the performance. You buy a Switch because it's something that you can play on the go, wherever you want, and play decently timed games like Pokemon, where you can save anywhere. Or Zelda, where you can save anywhere. RPGs, get to the next save point, save, and go back to work. That's why Switches sell. Or, I'm just a little kid, pull it out at lunch. The disappointing thing is, millions and millions of people are going to go play Pokemon Z and A. They're going to love it. It's going to be nostalgic. It's going to be amazing. It's the best Pokemon game ever. I, for one, haven't touched my Switch in over a year. Got my controller though. Controller that I use to play my PC games. I've been playing interesting things like Screwdrivers, or Mass Builders, or Pal World, or even just playing Ark. It's just a better system. And granted, I have a decent computer. Some of these novelty devices, like the Switch, or my VR headset, they have their advantages, they have a lot of disadvantages. Unfortunately. And those disadvantages are not being developed with the idea of consumer satisfaction. They're being developed with the idea of consume. So I do hope that Pokemon is learning its lesson. I enjoyed what I saw in the trailer. I enjoyed the fact that the main characters don't look like Type 1 and Type 2. They look like a girl and a guy. I'm glad that we're getting more player movement mechanics. I'm glad that we're doing away with the turn-based battle system. There's going to be a lot more people, though, who are going to say, oh, the turn-based battle system is just superior. You can do so much more with balancing and all this other stuff. I don't care about balancing anymore. I want to have fun. And just sitting there, mashing the A button, grindy as it is, not really fun. So what do you think? You think I'm barking up the wrong tree? You think I'm just a weirdo with a sword who doesn't know what he's talking about? Let me know in the comments below. And if you missed it, the previous episode of Palworld vs. Pokemon has a lot of interesting concepts, like the fact that even some of the Pikachu clones were stolen from anime back in the 80s. Pokemon has been stealing for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, this new title, I don't think they're changing. Have a good one, everybody!